I'm giving up, Sarah. Again. I tried to start running every morning, lasted 4 days, and now my sneakers are just collecting dust. Why is consistency so impossible?
Mike, you're falling for the consistency myth. You think consistency requires superhuman motivation every single day. It doesn't. It requires a system.
A system? I thought the system was waking up, feeling motivated, and just doing it. I rely heavily on that initial burst of inspiration.
Inspiration is great for starting, but useless for maintaining. Consistency isn't about giant leaps, it's about tiny wins. If you miss one day, you treat it like a slip, not a complete failure.
When I miss one day, my brain tells me the whole system is broken, so I might as well skip the whole week. It's an all or nothing mindset.
That's the productivity trap. We need to focus on the Seinfeld rule, or don't break the chain. Even if you can only run for 5 minutes, you mark the X on the calendar. The goal is keeping the chain unbroken, not the intensity of the run.
5 minutes seems pointless. I feel like I'm wasting my time if I don't go full out.
It's never pointless. The goal of the 5-minute run is just to get dressed. It's about making the start so easy you can't say no. That's called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Is that like I put my running shoes next to my coffee maker so when I make coffee, I see the shoes?
Exactly. You link a new desired behavior, running, to an established habit, making coffee. The trigger is the established habit. Your prompt is already built into your day.
I like that. So instead of relying on a huge mental effort to start, I rely on a physical prompt. But what about when life gets crazy? Travel, sickness, unexpected deadlines.
That's where the minimum viable habit, or MVH, comes in. If your goal is to read 50 pages a day, your MVH is one sentence. If your goal is to practice guitar for an hour, your MVH is playing one chord.
One chord? That seems like cheating.
It's not cheating, it's damage control. The MVH ensures that even on your worst, busiest day, you still maintain your identity as a reader, a runner, or a musician. It keeps the momentum alive.
So the real consistency isn't about maintaining high performance, it's about maintaining identity and presence. That's a huge shift.
It totally is. You are what you repeatedly do. If you show up every day, even minimally, you are that person.
Okay, let's talk about temptation. I'll be in the middle of a deep work session, and suddenly I have a powerful urge to check Twitter. How do I stop that instant gratification habit?
You need to make the bad habits invisible and difficult. Put your phone in the kitchen drawer for 2 hours. Out of sight, out of mind. That's called environment design.
Environment design. So it's not about willpower, it's about making the environment support my goals. But what if the bad habit is my environment, like watching too much TV?
Then you make it difficult. If you want to read, take the batteries out of the remote control and hide them in the garage. The friction of going to the garage to retrieve the batteries is often enough to stop the impulsive habit.
That is brilliant. I always thought I had to wrestle with my brain to win the battle. I never realized the fight could be won by simply making the battlefield harder to access.
The battle of consistency is fought and won not in the moment of temptation, but in the preparation beforehand. We need to be architects of our habits, not victims of our cravings.
Let's apply this to my running. I hate putting my cold clothes on in the morning. That's the friction point.
Then your preparation is laying out your clothes the night before, next to your bed. Better yet, sleep in your running shirt. Eliminate the friction point completely.
Sleep in my running shirt? That's extreme, but effective. So my goal for the next 2 weeks shouldn't be run 5 miles. It should be Never break the chain of putting on my running shoes.
Exactly. Lower your standards for action, but raise your standards for showing up. Remember the 2-day rule. Never miss a habit twice in a row. If you miss Monday, you must do something, even the MVH on Tuesday.
The 2-day rule. That lets me forgive myself without spiraling into total failure. I like that element of compassion. But how do I make boring tasks more appealing? Running is just boring.
We use a strategy called temptation bundling. You pair a high desire action with a low desire action. You can only listen to your favorite trashy true crime podcast while you are running.
Ooh, so I look forward to the reward, the podcast, which is bundled with the habit, the run. I'm essentially bribing myself. I love it.
It's ethical self-manipulation. It makes the habit intrinsically more enjoyable.
Now, let's talk about measurement. How do you track these tiny wins?
Usually, I just write "ran today" in a vague journal entry.
Vague measurements lead to vague results. You need a visual tracker. Use a large calendar on the wall or a dedicated tracking app. Visual progress is incredibly motivating.
Why is the visual part so important?
Because you need to see the cumulative effect of your tiny wins. Every X on that calendar is evidence that you are a consistent person. You're reinforcing your self-identity visually.
So if I start tracking my MVH, putting on my shoes, instead of the 5-mile run, I'll feel successful every single day. That changes everything.
And finally, let's focus on the reward structure. Don't reward yourself with something that sabotages your progress. Don't reward running with a donut.
That's a good point. That's my classic move. What's a non-sabotaging reward?
The reward should be closer to the habit. A new, comfortable running shirt, an extra 30 minutes of reading time after the run, or simply crossing the X off the calendar and taking a mindful breath. The process itself should be the reward.
I feel like this conversation just gave me the actual tools I need. No more relying on random sparks of motivation, just systems and tiny wins.
That's the essence of building a habit that lasts a lifetime, Mike. It's not about being inspired, it's about being deliberate.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to start stacking those habits and protecting my environment right now. I'm going to lay out my running clothes before I go to sleep tonight.
That's your minimum viable habit for today. You already won.
That's right. And to our listeners out there, what is your minimum viable habit for this week? We hope this helps you find your consistency.
See you next time in the Fluent English Space.